Merry Christmas, Watchers one and all! Yep, it's my favorite time of the year, Christmas. The holiday cooking, the Christmas, the snow, the presents. It all, honest to God, warms my heart. And of course, we can't forget all of the holiday specials that come out around this year. So for this year's Christmas special, I want to review one of them, but specifically one that came out not too long ago. And on Netflix, further proving that they will greenlight anything. But hey, if they give us stuff like this, then I'm not gonna complain. Yes, I'm talking about Klaus. For the benefit of the 5 of you that have never seen this movie, Klaus was recently released on Netflix, and is created from the same guy who did Despicable Me. From what I understand, this movie apparently took 10 years to make, and a large part of that was because no one would greenlight it. Pretty much every studio they brought it to said no. So when that happens, there's only one solution: Netflix to the rescue.
Netflix, you're greenlit.
And now it's finally out, and now we get to watch it. But the question is, was it worth it? Well, let's find out. Our movie stars our main character, Jasper, and I'm sorry, but I cannot hear that name and not think of Jasper Pie in this role. Anyway, he's the son of the head of the post office. And of course, he's very privileged, and in order to teach him a lesson, his father sends him to Smearensburg, a country in the far north with two families that hate each other's guts, and basically have no need for a postman. That is, until he stumbles across the local woodsman, Klaus, played by J.K. Simmons. Yeah, just from the description and the name alone, you can already guess where this is going. Yeah, it's the classic origin of Santa Claus thing. We've seen this plenty of time in other TV shows and movies. One that definitely comes to mind is one that used to play on Cartoon Network a long time ago. Sadly, for the life of me, I cannot recall what it's actually called, but it was basically the origin of Santa Claus, and yeah, it's just kind of the same way. So it's not like this is anything new we haven't seen before, but at the same time, it does at the very least do enough that I can say it's not a rip-off or just borrowing from them too much. I'd say at the very least, it changes enough and at the same time uses enough. Like the elves, the use of the sleigh and all that stuff. And it does at the very least find very creative ways to work them into the story. My favorite is actually the origin of how his sleigh flies. That's pretty funny. And at the very least, even though it does borrow some elements from Santa Claus origin stories, it does at least have the most important aspect it borrows: its heart. This movie honestly and earnestly has a lot of heart to it. There are a lot of honest to God sweet and earnest moments that warm my heart. And a lot of them I can't really say, otherwise I'd give too much away, which I don't really want to do. Yeah, I know a lot of you have probably seen this already, but for the benefit of those that haven't seen it, I don't want to give too much away. But yeah, like I said, there are legitimately heartwarming moments, and they did work on me severely well. But yeah, okay, let's get to the main reason you guys definitely want me to talk about this: the animation. I mean, good God, just look at it! This animation is legitimately beautiful. From what I understand, this used new technology to try and convey a new type of animation that was 2D that looked like 3D. Yeah, not an ounce of this was 3D in any way, shape, or form, yet it kinda looks like it in some areas. But it's more than that. I mean, just look at these colors. For a movie that mostly takes place in what's essentially the Arctic, it is so colorful. Actually, I take that back. It's colorful near the end. Actually, near the beginning, a lot of the colors are very muted. It's mostly gray near the beginning, and it relies on a lot of shading. I mean, the whole movie has a lot of shading to it, but it's the most shaded near the beginning. And I can't help but feel like there's some symbolism to that, considering the town does become happier and merrier as the movie goes on, and the movie becomes more colorful as it goes on, showing the rise of goodwill and happiness. I mean, I don't even really need to say anymore, just look at this movie and you'll get the idea. Beautiful colors, beautiful shading, and the animation itself is so fluid. And most of the characters I found to be really good. The villains are especially funny, if I'm being honest. They work off each other perfectly. So from what it sounds like, this movie's amazing, right? Maybe even flawless? Well, no. Okay, look, I do think this movie is legitimately brilliant, but it does have its flaws. Let's start off with more minor problems and then work our way up to what I consider more bigger problems. I'd say first of all, the music should get a big mention to this. Okay, now don't get me wrong, there is some legitimately good music here. Some of the composition and instrumentals are pretty gorgeous. The one that immediately comes to mind is the one where the whole town starts getting along. That's some legitimately good composition. No, I'm talking about when they use pop songs. Now don't misunderstand me, I like pop music. Or at the very least, I like what I consider good music. Now my issues is that the pop songs feel so incredibly out of place and kind of ruin the mood. I was honestly worried about this from the trailer alone, which played high hopes over it. Now I like that song, but that felt so out of place, especially for the story they're trying to tell. Why don't you just stick to the composition? That stuff is good, you don't need any of the pop songs. But a big one in my opinion is, without giving too much away, there's a child from another town over, where Jasper helps her to write and then tries to make her a gift along with Klaus. And during the whole thing, a song I'm assuming was made for the movie is playing over it. Now it's a good song, but honestly the lyrics got kind of distracting. By the third time I watched the movie, I was just saying to myself, we get it, you don't need to feel or see things for them to be real. What does any of this have to do with the central message? And you know what, honestly I would have forgiven it, except they go for the option I would have preferred, just sticking with an instrumental. As the kid discovers her present, they actually play an instrumental of the song, and you know what, that works. I would have liked that. But then the lyrics kick in and it's like, well, you ruined it. Okay, maybe ruin's a bit of a harsh word, but you get my point. I just feel like it would have been stronger if it was just the instrumental with no lyrics. Like, it's already a soaring song, you don't need the lyrics to spell out what we're supposed to feel. What makes it doubly frustrating is that they play the song again at the end credits. I just have to think, why? Yeah, Frozen had a remix of Let It Go, but that was at the end. They didn't splice it in halfway through the movie. They waited till the end of the movie because the pop song would have felt so out of place. And honestly, I feel like the best solution here would have been to just play the instrumental and then play the whole song at the end credits. But that being said, it's still a legitimately good moment even with the pop song added in. Plus, at the very least, I can't say it did lead to one legitimately funny moment when Jasper tells off a bully.
I didn't think so.
It legitimately had me laughing my ass off, so at the very least that's why I consider it only a minor problem. But yeah, with that being said, I do have two more problems and they're kind of major problems. One is, and I don't know if this is going to be an unpopular opinion or not, but while I do love most of the characters, I feel like Jasper is way too mean and way too selfish for too long. And I know the point of it, he's supposed to learn a lesson to be more selfless. To do selfless acts without being asked or to be told. But it honestly got annoyed me that he kept that I'm out for me mentality throughout most of the movie. Yeah, it's not in your face about it, but at the same time, you kinda have that lingering feeling over you as you're watching him. Like, you know he's doing all these quote-unquote good things just to get something in return to get out of that dump. Now, upon first viewing, I don't think it's that big of a deal, so if you're just gonna do one and done, I don't think you're gonna have that big of a deal. But upon repeated viewings, yeah, it can get a little distracting. And if it was a minor character, I wouldn't be complaining so much, but this is a main character. You're spending most of the movie with this guy. All that being said, he does mellow out and legitimately learn his lesson near halfway through the movie. And I get why, to teach a lesson, and I absolutely understand that, but I still felt it kinda distracted. But at the very least, he mellowed out and learned his lesson and got better, so I can at least give it that. However, Jasper does lead into my other problem, and that is there is a goddamn liar's reveal in this story. Oh my god, I hate this trope. It is such an overused trope, and it's so frustrating. All throughout it, I'm just asking why. Why isn't Klaus talking to him? Why isn't the teacher talking to him? Why isn't any of the helpers talking to him? Why did Jasper suddenly lose his ability to speak coherently and just talk? Why didn't they realize they may be manipulating him because of the other clansmen? There's so many whys that whenever it reaches this moment, I legitimately leave the room and wait for it to be over. Not joking. Why is it that the kid is the only one that has any sense and is actually trying to talk to Jasper? And yes, I know I said I'd be mostly spoiler free, but this is really frustrating. I gotta vent my frustrations. And while we're delving into spoilers, there actually is a moment where Klaus tricks the clansmen into destroying a bunch of woodlogs instead of presents. And you know what? That would have been an easy solution. No, I'm not even joking. I would have instantly forgiven that moment if it was implied that Klaus and the teacher and the others knew the clans were gonna do this and pull the switcheroo and had to try and shun Jasper to make it look like they had no idea what was happening. That would have fixed everything. You had an easy solution. But no, they don't do that. Or at the very least, I don't think that's what it is. Cause if it is, they really didn't convey it well enough for me to think that's what it is. If that was the implication, then why was Klaus trying to guilt trip Jasper? And for that matter, why was the implication that he was perfectly okay with hurting him? That doesn't seem like they planned like that all along. And you know what? I kind of get why they did this, to not make it super obvious. But you didn't need any of those for that implication. You can still have Klaus looking a little upset at the whole thing, but not because of that, but because Jasper ruined their plan. That way you can still have the big moment of the two clans' son and daughter falling in love, and you can still have the big chase scene. But as far as I can tell, that's not what they went with, and it's really frustrating. But I don't want any of you to misunderstand me. Despite my problems, I do still think this movie is a masterpiece. Is it a flawed masterpiece? Sure, but that doesn't mean it's not good. Yeah, I still have my issues with Jasper, but he's still pretty funny, so I'm willing to forgive it. Yeah, I have my issues with the lie reveal story, but the ending is so legitimately heartwarming I kinda forget about it. In fact, in that sense, I think it's the perfect Christmas movie. It doesn't rely on logic, it relies on emotion. And the emotion is very strong. There are two moments that legitimately get me. One of them is when the town actually starts uniting and coming together. It's legitimately heartwarming. The other is the ending, which I won't dare spoil for any of you that haven't seen it yet. But let's just say, it is both bittersweet, heartwarming, and emotional all at the same time. And in that sense, I suppose Klaus is Christmas in a nutshell. Yeah, it can have its hard moments, yeah, it can be cold and bitter, but sometimes it can be very bittersweet. It can be heartwarming, it can be emotional, it can be all those things and more. So in that sense, I am glad I saw Klaus, and I do think it is something you should go see. And with that, I'm officially entering my little Christmas vacation. But before I disappear, I've got a couple more things I want to say. First of all, I want to thank you all so much for supporting me over this year. Both with Patreon and my Twitch donations, it's honestly been helping me a lot, and I hope to continue this into the future. And just in time for the Christmas season, I have some very special merchandise up for sale on my Redbubble. This art piece done by the amazing mythpony of a dragon in a box. It's available on my Redbubble, which will be in the description down below. Not to mention, everything is 10% off until Christmas Eve. So by the time this goes up, you'll have about 2 weeks to get it at a discounted price, so go up and hurry. And also, just because I'm ending my YouTube videos for a while, that doesn't mean I'm going to be ending my Twitch streams. I'm actually streaming mostly Star Wars games in honor of Rise of the Skywalker coming out pretty soon. So be sure to follow me on Twitch to find out what I'm going to be playing. And of course all the usual stuff, follow my Twitter to find updates and my Patreon to keep the show going and all that stuff. And I would just like to end this by saying, Merry Christmas everyone, and I'll see you all next year.